the Move, a wave of inspiration. Special series redefining possibilities and women empowerment.
Sometimes as women we need to take a stand.
Gender equality and inclusivity. We can only do this together.
Welcome to Women on the Move, a program that gives emphasis on women empowerment. My name is Millicent Kubai. Article 27 of the Kenyan Constitution 2010 highlights equality and freedom from discrimination to every citizen. It says every person is equal before the law and has the right to equal protection and equal benefit of the law. Well, despite this directive, we've seen a lot of women continue to undergo various forms of discrimination, struggles in terms of accessing justice. As the world marks the International Day for Women, well, in studio, I'm joined with very beautiful ladies here. I'll give each one of them so that you can listen into their voice as they give their introduction. I'll start with my left. Welcome.
Greetings, everyone. I am Emily Murigo. First, I'm happy to be back to KBC. Thank you for hosting us, Millicent. I am an advocate of the High Court of Kenya, and I am the Chief Executive Officer with the Democracy and Legal Aid Center.
Thank you very much, and welcome to KBC
Thank you.
English Service. Well, I'll go to my right. Kindly introduce yourself.
My name is Felicia Mburu. I am an advocate of the High Court of Kenya and the director of Article 48 Initiative. I'm happy to be here to create awareness.
Thank you so much, and welcome. Let's get to hear from our third guest. Welcome.
Hi everyone, I'm Pauline Naroko. I work at United Disabled Persons of Kenya as a program officer. Happy to be here today.
Thank you so much. So today we shall discuss justice and how women can access justice. So I'll start with Felicia Mburu, who is the director for Article 48. How do you define justice?
Justice is an interesting concept to ask a lawyer to define because there are various ways of looking at it. But justice in this context, in the context of women, is making sure there's equality between the sexes. Looking to make sure that there's power balance and equal decision making between men and women. And in Kenya, we also recognize the third gender. So we're also talking about equality amongst intersex persons as well.
Emily, when we talk about justice or justice for women, what do we say? What are we saying?
We are basically observing Article 27 of the Constitution that promotes equality for all, including women. So we have equal protection by the law. We have equal rights. We have to be able to equally access rights, even as women. That is what justice is all about.
Well, Pauline, now I move to you. What are some of the examples that we can say injustice women undergo?
Discussing it from a layman's point of view, because as we implement, we meet a lot of women and girls who've undergone injustice. A perfect example of it is the fact that from the disability lens, is the fact that we don't pay keen attention to women with disabilities in matters education, in matters access to health and all that. To me, that is a perfect example of injustice, looking at it from the disability lens.
Emily, any addition on circumstances that surround injustices on women?
Yes, a circumstance that comes to mind is on gender-based violence. Sexual gender-based violence mainly affects women. So that is a circumstance that is with us, especially domestic violence. It affects the male gender, but it mainly affects women as well, according to statistics.
And when we talk about rights, what are some of the rights that women are entitled to so that we're able to understand when our rights have been infringed?
First is to empower women with information and tell us all, because I am a woman, that all rights are there to protect us all. That is how Article 27 defines it. We enjoy equal protection and we have equal access to all these rights as all genders, including women. So we have access to education, we have access to healthcare, we have access to housing, we have access to public spaces. All these rights that are enshrined in our law are there to protect all gender equally.
And Felicia, the right to own property, is it also a right among us?
Yes. When you look at the question of women and property, we have our cultural rights and we have what the Constitution of Kenya actually says. And there's a very big misconception that women cannot own property. When we talk about rights, which rights are we looking at? we're looking at all the rights enshrined under Chapter 4 of the Constitution of Kenya, specifically the right to own property and the right to privacy, Article 33 of the Constitution. Article 33 is very important because it talks about quiet enjoyment of that privacy, including quiet enjoyment of your property. That's now where we have the cultural clash. But I'm here today to tell all women, you have a right to own property. And property is anything that you have bought, whether it's a car, a house, or even just the jewelry you're wearing. That is all your property. Let's not limit it to just land issues. It is anything that you have spent your money or committed your time to own.
I'd like us to delve a bit on the healthcare as a right. And then there's also employment and, of course, property, because that's where we see a lot of contention. For example, on healthcare, there are some religions and our family setups where men are the decision makers. They'll say, I don't want you to go and take family planning. I want us to go the natural way. So you find that the health of the woman is actually not well, because you see, like every year or twice a year, she's expectant just because she was not part of that decision making. And then there's also an incident where we see property. For example, the husband dies and she becomes a widow. So the rest of the family members decide, no, because you don't have a son in this family, so that one automatically locks you out. You have no right to own property. And then on education again, men can advance their careers, but as a woman, you're told, no, you have to sit at home. It is not right because you have a lot of duties to carry out as a woman. Pauline, have you undergone such circumstances and maybe scenarios like this as UDPK? Maybe what comes out?
Yeah, as a UDPK, we do a lot of advocacy in the communities within our project areas. And the fact that we are a patriarchal society, and the fact that the scenarios that you're talking about is more or less instilled to women and girl child at a very young age. These challenges, sometimes, most of the time, women embrace them as the reality. Unfortunately, it isn't the reality, and that's why as UDPK we take the initiatives to advocate for women to stand against such injustices when it comes to right of owning property. I'm not a lawyer, but I know that the Constitution of Kenya gives women, regardless of whether you have a disability or not, it's a right to own property. You have a right to education and even healthcare services. Yes, I wouldn't say that we have women who've been discriminated when it comes to access to healthcare, but it is our mandate as UDPK to keep preaching the gospel of women just empowering themselves and beginning to access the things that, let me say, has been denied to them.
We've carried out stories where in the healthcare sector, we've seen persons, especially women with disability, especially during birth, they are not even given that right to maybe push the baby normally like any other. For example, you get to hear they get into the delivery rooms, the doctor is instructed, the nurse will undergo cesarean. I don't know, Emily, is that an infringement to healthcare right?
Yes, that is a clear example of infringement to healthcare rights. Remember, in one of our shows here with KBC with you, Millicent, when we were discussing on labor rights, we discussed on the need for a person with disability to be allowed an opportunity to speak their mind, an opportunity to make decisions, because that is what they are provided for in law. We should not discriminate people based on disability or based on gender in this case. So, one, in regard to access to health, in regard to access to property through succession, in regard to access to education, I would start with education. We need to empower and remind our society to please take our young girls to school. Our rural women, we encourage you to take the young girls to school. Why? Once they gain education, they become empowered with information. Once they become empowered with information and expertise, they are the same experts that are used in the health profession. They're the same experts that are used in conveyancing under matters property, if we are using the immovable property. So let me define property. We have movable property and immovable property. Movable property is that which you can carry around in layman's language. Immovable property is that which you cannot carry around, for example, land. So once our girls have access to education, it becomes easier for them to be experts in the health sector. Right now, we have a challenge in women accessing health from the point of the lawmakers. the laws that we are having in place, are they favorable to women? Are they favorable to women with disability? For instance, do they allow an opportunity where a woman can decide whether I want to have that family planning route or for the man to decide for them? Do we have this sensitization and creation of awareness to the basic society out there? We lack expertise as another hindrance to lack of proper access to health. And this expertise comes in where we educate our girls, they become the experts. We lack infrastructure, and this infrastructure we lack because we have not taken our girls. Of course, we need to take our boys too. I'm a mother of boys, but today we are talking about girls. So we have not taken our girls to school for them to learn and be creative and invent things. We're still importing more than encouraging local innovation. Inadequate resources. The main resource here is the human resource. And this human resource will increase if we empower our girl child.
Thank you so much. And with that, we come to the end of today's episode of Women on the Move, a program that gives emphasis on women empowerment. It has been a pleasure hosting Emily Murigu, the CEO for Democracy and Legal Aid Center, Felicia Mburu, the director for Article 48, and Paulina Rocco, the head of programs for UDPK, that is United Disabled Persons of Kenya. My name is Millicent Kubai. Let's meet again in our next episode.
You are listening to Women on the Move, a wave of inspiration, special series redefining possibilities and women empowerment.